Hello and welcome to my tutorial for Shawn Petite's Creative Team. Today I'm playing in my Dina Weekly Journal with 4 of Shawn's stencils. My first step was to gesso my journal pages and then add these dictionary pages all over with matte medium. My next step was to add some of this tissue paper that's found inside of patterns. I love adding a layer of this tissue paper because it adds a nice color and also a really great texture along with some of those graphics that are on the patterns. If you kind of add matte medium to the front and the back and then squish it up to add lots of little wrinkles, it creates some great texture for your bottom layers of your journal pages. I finished off my background layer by adding one more generous amount of matte medium over the entire 2-page spread. Next, I decided I wanted to kind of mute these colors and kind of make them a little bit more cohesive. So I added some watered down gesso to the pages, and then I, at the end, wiped some of it away in different spots with some extra water and baby wipes to keep more of that text forward, but still have it muted with a little bit of the gesso. Next, I grabbed the Shawn Petite Magnolias stencil and my Stabilo Oil pencil in black and traced several of the Magnolia complete flowers and blossoms all around my pages. At some points, I actually flipped the stencil over so that the flowers and blossoms look a little bit more varied. And I just traced around all these magnolia blossoms all around the edge of my paper to create kind of a wreath or so of flowers around my pages. When I had all of my flowers and blossoms and buds all traced out around the pages, I grabbed my paintbrush with a little bit of water on my palette page to activate the Stabilo Oil pencil. I like using the Stabilo Oil to create shadows and shading as a layer underneath my paint. And I also grabbed the Stabilo once in a while when I wanted the marks a little darker. So as I activated them, I decided that sometimes I needed some more shadows in places and just traced that Stabilo Oil over my flower again, and then activated it to get the look that I wanted for each individual flower. Then I grabbed the Stabilo Oil in the graphite version. It makes some lighter, sketchier lines to these flowers and adds a little bit more interest. Once I was done sketching freehand kind of really loose lines around the flowers, I activated again a little bit with water and even added some more of the black Stabilo for some more darker edges on the flowers. While I was waiting for all of that stabilo to dry, I decided to make my own washi tape with some of Shawn's stencils. I grabbed the Dina Wakley plain washi tape and then one of Shawn's scribble stencils and also some carbon black paint and the little applicator here to make my own washi tape. I didn't know which pattern I'd end up using, so I chose 3 different ones and made a couple strips of washi tape each. If you put the washi tape on a plastic like packaging like from Shawn's stencils or even some of your palette paper, it makes it easy to stencil on and then also easy to remove to put on your journal pages. Next, I kind of wanted to add some grungy graffiti type texture to these pages, so I grabbed Shawn's number stencils and this marabou spray and sprayed numbers different places on my pages to create kind of a grungy kind of graffiti look. And this also kind of adds some hardness to all the softness of the flowers to create an opposing feel on the page between the soft flowers and then the grungy graffiti look. When my numbers were dry, it was time to begin coloring in these flowers. So I grabbed these 4 different shades of reds, but in the end, I only used the quinacridone, however you want to say it, magenta and violet for these flowers, as well as a little bit of gesso. So I started by layering some watered down gesso and then the pinks at the bottom of my petals to get the look that I wanted. It was just a process of going back and forth, adding more gesso, adding more violet or more magenta to get the color that I wanted. Most people are used to the white magnolias, but in the spring here in the Houston area, we have lots of pink magnolias, and it's one of my favorite parts of spring. So instead of doing the traditional white magnolias, I wanted to pay homage to those beautiful pink spring blossoms of the magnolias that I see around town. For me and for many people, I know it's been a long, cold, snowy, hard winter. Even though we didn't have snow here in Houston, it has been a hard winter for my family as we've had some things go on and a move and different stuff. So these 2 pages are kind of paying a little homage to the anticipation of spring, looking forward to spring flowers and sunny days, and just a little hello to spring. And then it's also, in the end, you'll see it's a message to myself about getting through those hard times in the winter and staying strong through different events that life throws at you. So as I'm painting these flowers here, I'm just enjoying the process, going back and forth to get the color and look that I want. If it doesn't go right, I just add some more gesso or add some more color. It's really kind of a fun, free-flowing process, not anything fancy, just throwing some color on those petals. Once I had the petals looking how I wanted, I grabbed these 3 different shades of browns and yellows to do the center of those 3 flowers that had centers. It was pretty simple. I just started from light to dark and layered the colors to create what I thought would be the center. I did do some Google image searching of the pink magnolias to make sure I was doing the colors correctly. I used some of the leftover paint to splatter some of those magenta and violet tones around my journal page to add a little bit more grunge to those flowers. Then it was time to add a bright springy background. I grabbed these two shades of green and the teal, but in the end I didn't use any of the teal. So I started off with my paintbrush using the two greens and gesso and kind of had fun putting the color on my flowers, but then I decided it was too tedious and it wasn't blending how I wanted, so I threw down that paintbrush and just grabbed my finger and spread the greens throughout the page, added water to make it a little bit more transparent, and just added some beautiful spring colors to my journal pages. Then I wanted to add some of that white back in, so I grabbed a palette knife and spread some of that white gesso around my journal pages, letting it catch on those folds and wrinkles from that pattern paper that I had in the background. And then I grabbed a baby wipe and my fingers and just kind of softened some of that white as well in the places that I thought it was a little too harsh. Next, I added some of that homemade washi tape with Shawn stencils to my page. You'll see that I decided on those X's and then played a little bit trying to decide the perfect combination of how I wanted to put that washi on my pages. Once the washi was down, I didn't want it to be the top layer, so I used one of my favorite techniques with the Stabilo All, and I scribbled it on my palette paper and added some water to it to make its own kind of paint. And I like using this better than black because it's more transparent than black paint. So I just splattered it in the areas of the washi tape and the numbers to add a little bit more grunge to those areas. Then I found this really cool tag in my stash and wanted to use it. If you don't have a pre-printed tag like this, you could put more dictionary paper on a tag. I added clear gesso to the front and the back so that when I used the Stabilo technique again, it wouldn't absorb straight into the tag but have that gesso layer. And so I simply just did the same process that I used with the Magnolias and traced in this other Shawn Petite stencil and activated the Stabilo with water. And then when I was finished, I added some of the splatters to add a little bit more grunginess to that tag. Then I grabbed this little fine line applicator that has carbon black, airbrush medium, and a little bit of water to add a little personal journal to myself on that right side of my journal pages. Next, I wanted to add an overall arching kind of message to these pages for the people looking at it who couldn't really read my scribbled journaling, which was the purpose of how scribbly it was. And my personal journaling is just more about being strong, and so I loved this tissue paper from Dina Wakley that just said be strong and added that to the tag. Then I added a little bit more splattering to that tag with the quinacridone violet, or quinacridone, however you say it, and also darkened some of those flower petals with that same color to add a little bit more contrast and bring them out. They were kind of getting lost on the page. When I was finished adding that violet, it was time to put my Be Strong tag on my pages. So I grabbed some of this ultra thick gel medium, put it on the tag, and securely placed it on my pages. And I was finished with my Be Strong, Get Through the Winter, Enjoy the Spring journal pages. I hope that you learned something from this technique and enjoyed this tutorial, and that you try some of these on your own. If you do, be sure to tag Shawn or I on Instagram or Facebook and let us know that you tried some of these techniques. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful spring after getting through your winter.